Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about standards of paper. So when we want to select paper, what size of paper we have to use for our drawings. So just imagine that this is your project and you worked on, let's say, on drawings of a house, and you prepared different views of that house and section view, and now you have all the views available and you want to now print that one. You want to know that what sheet size you have to use for your work. If you have a look at here on the example that I have here, you will see letter A1. I want to show you that what this A1 means, and for your work, what size of drawing you have to use in the future. We have two main standards in the world. We have ISO and we have ANSI. ISO, International Organization for Standardization, and ANSI is American National Standards Institute. The first one, you know it as metric standard. And the second one, usually we call it American standard. When we usually hear metric standard, we right away think of, let's say, meter, kilometer, centimeter, and those kind of units. Or when we talk about ANSI, usually people think of just inches and foot. But in reality, these organizations, they govern many standards. For example, a standard for paper, a standard for fasteners, bolts, screws, nuts, a standard for raw material. For example, you want to order lumbers, you want to order I-beams, you want to order C-channels. So everything is coming from them. They decide that what, for example, lumber, when you say 2x4, what should be the size of 2x4? What should be the length of the 2x4? When we talk about paper, they decide that what standard papers we should have. Let's see the difference between those standards when we talk about papers. For those of you who are international students, or you're coming from, or you have spent sometimes in other countries other than North America, you probably know ISO standard and sheet size of ISO. For example, those people who live in those countries, they usually deal with A4 paper. They work with A4 paper. But in North America, we use a letter size paper. So for note taking, we usually use, in other countries, they use, let's say, B5 or C5. So they have different standards. Let's have a look at this standard for a few minutes. So in ISO standard is the way that we have a large sheet that we call it A0. A0 is a paper size that its area, total area, is 1 square meter. And if you multiply this, like the width, by √2, you're going to get this. So there are two equations here. This times this is 1 square meter, and you don't know this and you don't know this. And this one times root of 2 gives you this. So there are two unknowns and there are two nouns. From there, you can find width and height. That's why you see such a weird number here and here. So this one we call it A0 sheet. How big is A0? So here is 1 meter and let's say 20 centimeter. 1 meter and 20 centimeter is like the span of this one is the way that you can hold it between your hands. So you can easily have the drawing with you and read the drawing. So this one we call it A0. If you fold A0 from the middle, we call that piece, we call it that half, we call it A1. The same idea. If you fold A1 from the middle line, we call it A2. The same idea, A3, A4, A5, A6, and so on. As I said, the paper that in European countries and Asian countries they use is A4. So A4 is a sheet that they use it in daily use, similar to letter size. And there is another standard that we call it B standard, and another standard that they call it C standard. So you can see the numbers here for B standard and C standard. For ANSI, the sheet size definition is a little bit different. How is it? They come with a sheet called E. What is size of E? Is 34 inches by 44 inches. So that one is E. If you make E half, we call it D. What size of D? That's correct. 22 by 34. Half of D we call it C. So C is going to be 17 by 22. Half of C we call it B. And there is another name for B, tabloid. Tabloid is 11 by 17. It's the same as this one. Half of B we call it A, and size of A is 8.5 by 11. So another name for A is letter size. So the papers that we use in North America, usually they are either A or B. They are letter size or tabloid. Another secret, if you hold two A sizes side by side, they're going to make a B size sheet or tabloid sheet. Here, I just compared A4 and A. As you know, A letter size is the sheets that we usually use in our daily use in North America, and A4 is a similar thing in Europe and Asia and some other countries. So this is the standard here, and South America, of course. And you can see the comparison here too. Okay, so how to print these papers? For printing of A4 and A and legal size, which is the same as A but longer. If you go to bank and sign a contract with bank, you will see that they give you some sort of A size sheet, but it's longer. A size was 8.5 by 11. Legal size is 8.5 by 14. So for printing of A4, A, and legal, use small size printers. There are some printers that they print A4, A, and B. And if you go with ISO standard, A3, which is close to B. So for printing those, they use larger printers. For example, the printers that we have in Seneca on the campus, they are this size. So they can print A and B for us. So now the question is that, what if we want to print larger sheets? What should we do? The answer is plotters. So what plotters do? They plot C, D, and E, A2, A1, and A0. How plotter works? We load a sheet, a roll, and width of that roll, if you are in North America, is 34 inches. If you are in other countries, is 841 millimeter. So now just imagine you want to plot a drawing, and that drawing size is A1. So basically you load this roll, you start plotting, and when you reach 594, the machine stops and cuts the sheet, and you're gonna have a A1 sheet. If you want to plot a A0, so the same idea, but you stop at 1189. Okay, so this is the way that we plot. So this is going to be the end result then. If you want to plot a A1, you know how to plot it. Thank you for your time. In my next video, we're going to talk about how to scale a drawing. Talk to you soon.